Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I am Jeff.
And we are joined with returning guest, David.
Hey, guys.
Hello, David.
That was like the quietest hey guys of all time.
Yep. All right, there. Better.
Yeah, much better.
Just get my nose really up in here so I can get all the diseases.
Can you make it more nasally, too?
more nasally like this, guys? This is how I should talk the whole time?
Correct.
Yeah, this is a board gaming podcast.
Yeah.
So,
The nerdier, the better.
yeah.
Womp, womp.
I mean, you've got glasses, so that's you already got it. Now, whenever you make a point, you need to push them somehow closer into your face. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yours don't slide down enough. Like, I purposely have mine set so that they just slowly slide down as I talk, so I regularly get to push them up the bridge of my nose.
Oh, excellent.
Excuse me? King making is bad, Zach. You shouldn't king make.
I'm going to stab you in the eye with this.
I'm just gonna take it away
Will
now.
that let you? Does that mean you can then plug into this and listen to what's in Adrian's brain?
David, just give it back to me.
There's not
to me. Thank you.
not a lot going on.
Punch
in
it
there.
right through his forehead and download his brain. That's how that works, right?
Yep. We're going to Johnny Mnemonic this bitch.
He's got a gig of space in there.
1 whole gigabyte?
He can
my
hold
God.
2 gigs if he uses a doubler.
Shit. That's so much information.
Yes.
Let's start this off with what are we drinking? Because we're drinking some interesting things. Well, some people are.
Yeah.
Zach's already finished one off.
Yeah, I'll start. I had a bomber of oatmeal Yeti from Great Divide, but I already drank that. So now I am. This is from Palisade?
Ballast Point.
Ballast Point. I was close.
Yeah,
Not at all.
no.
It is their Red Velvet Nitro.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty interesting. I think it'd have been better if it wasn't a Nitro, but
I could see that.
I think Nitros work best on like stouts or porters and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Y'all should definitely look up the label for this beer because it's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the red velvet label is pretty cool. Although, Zach, I have to say that I guarantee that if Jake and Danielle are listening from Draft Mechanic, they are joining me in judging you for drinking Ballast Point, because that is one of the acquisitions from AB and Bev that makes everybody really sad, because they used to be awesome and now they sold out.
All right, well, I'm
Womp womp.
gonna put all the fucks I give right on the table.
Yeah, I know you don't care.
Yeah, there's nothing more.
Some of us have principles, things
Yeah.
like that. I am drinking my normal Eddie Line Brewing's Crank Anchor IPA. This was the last one of my 6-pack of that, so a little sad.
I can't wait till AB InBev just buys all the beers that you like, Adrian.
Oh man, they already bought Elysian, sons
Yep.
of bitches.
Yeah. Well, you only have 24 more Escape to Colorados from Epic sitting and
Yes.
waiting. So
Which those are tasty too. I like
Yeah.
those. Jeff, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the DIA from Deep Bolt Brewing. It's a IPA, but it tastes different.
Yeah, they've definitely got-
creamier. I don't know.
Is that their replacement for the greenback?
No.
Okay.
There is another one
Okay.
the Greenback 2.0.
Yeah, the Greenback 2.0 is no longer a session IPA, and it's got a little bit different flavor profile. That DIA, so it says on the side of the can there, it does say India Pale Ale, but they also say that it stands for Denver International Ale. And like they mentioned, like on the top of the can there, you can see like it says like blonde and aromatic and stuff. So it's like they really kind of combine
It
some
also
different
says
styles.
it's well traveled.
Yes,
Yeah.
and zesty. Which zesty, I think, is a good description.
You should
of
ask
some of the
this
flavor.
beer about its worldly experiences, Jeff.
That's true.
I'm sure it wouldn't be condescending at all about them.
No, I mean it would be.
It's
I
such a better
think
beer for having traveled.
You need a Mile High Game Guys special interview episode with that beer.
Yeah. We just talk to a can. We can put the goo from Ghostbusters 2 in
There
it
you go.
and then play some cool music and get it to dance.
Yep. It sounds like a great idea.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Let's get our scientists on that.
Yep.
Right on.
What are you drinking, David?
I found a can of Coke Zero, actual Coke Zero, none of this Coke Zero sugar shenanigans that's happening. So I bought 2 of them.
Because if you aren't in the know, Coke Zero, Coke decided to just be like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to make something else. So Coke Zero doesn't exist anymore. Now it's Coke Zero Sugar.
Yes, and it's supposed to taste more like regular Coke, but joke's on them. I've been drinking Coke Zero for like 10 years, and I don't know what regular Coke tastes like. So I want my shit to taste like Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember, though, when they first introduced Coke Zero, I'm like, oh, this tastes so much better than Diet Coke.
Yeah, no, Diet Coke is disgusting.
Most diet drinks are disgusting.
I've just moved to Diet Dr. Pepper. So.
Although it was super annoying that they're always just like, Coke Zero, it's the Diet Coke for men. or some shit like that.
That was more of the Pepsi has the.
That's what it was. The Pepsi.
Pepsi? No. I think it was Dr. Pepper.
It was Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, because there's Diet Dr. Pepper and there's Dr. Pepper 10, and they had that whole ad thing.
That's what it was.
Where it's like, men can drink this one because it has 10 calories per serving.
Yeah.
And that's the requirement for man drinks.
Men are the only non-calorie drink that a man is allowed is black coffee and water. Otherwise, it must have some calories.
What about black tea? Is that acceptable?
No, black tea. Come on, that's way too froofy. You got to dip that and shit. You got to steep things.
True,
no, steeping
true.
is not for men.
Unless you're English.
Yeah, then it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but as any good, true American knows, the English are pansies.
Oh, God.
I do not believe any of this. This is entirely facetious, by the way. I just really want to clarify.
I can't
that.
wait to edit out that.
Yeah, just make
explanation.
Adrian just edit it so Adrian's saying like the most xenophobic shit ever.
I'm going to edit out everything about talking about Coke Zero. It's just going to be Adrian saying that. That's it.
Just randomly be like, every American knows that the British are pansies. No context, no nothing.
Just copy it
Gave
into
him
an
a
extra
better
folder.
soundbite of it just there too.
Yeah.
So
I really put the whole nationalism and closed-mindedness behind that one.
Just copy that into a new file. Just throw it into other episodes. Over and over.
Randomly into reviews.
Yep.
It'll be great.
So, Adrian, can you say something in that same voice about how the chemicals are turning the frogs gay?
What has everybody been playing recently? Let's get this board gaming podcast to talk about board games for a little bit.
Well, not Murder Island.
Nope.
I haven't gotten any murder in a while.
Still? No?
No,
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
we've been busy doing other social activities / going camping.
Yep.
Played Borderlands 2 a bunch. That's a fun
It's
game.
not a board
still.
game.
No.
It is a good game, though.
I played the Destiny 2 beta.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I heard that's real good. I might play that soon.
It felt like Halo.
Yeah.
I refuse to go back. Destiny hurt me real bad. I can't trust it again.
But see, now you can play on PC like a real person.
Like a real man.
Like a real man.
It has 10 calories.
Then what is a serving of Destiny 2?
8 to 12 hours.
Okay.
I bet there's more than 10 calories.
Well, it has at least 10 calories.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least. I also played Mario versus Rabbids.
I bought that. I have not played much of it yet.
It's basically Mario XCOM.
That's why I bought it.
Yep. And for whatever reason, XCOM didn't speak to me, and this one does more. So
Because
Gotcha.
you're shooting the stupid rabbits in the face.
all I'm gonna say is I love the fact that I can use Mario to jump on somebody and then jump on somebody else and do damage to that. Do damage to them through that. So
Yeah.
it's a stomp jump, and there's so much mobility in the game. And then
you shoot things with
Yeah.
Mario, which
Yeah,
is totally weird.
yes,
Yeah.
but it works. It works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love XCOM. So when I saw Mario vs. Rabbids, I was just like, oh, it's a Mario clone of XCOM. I'm not interested in that.
Is XCOM on the Switch?
No.
Then boom, in your face.
Well, I
1
don't
point,
own a Switch,
Zach.
so that's yet another point in XCOM's favor that it's not on a console I don't own.
Are you playing XCOM on a console?
No, I'm playing
Okay.
XCOM on the PC.
Oh, all right, good. Anyway, board
Yep.
games.
Yeah. So at game night on Wednesday, I got to try out along with Jeff and Zach here, Super Motherlode, which we had picked up after talking to Gavin at Roxley Games while we were at Gen Con. We were sitting there chatting with him a little bit about brass. And then I asked him a little bit about Super Motherlode. He kind of explained it, and Zach went, I'll buy that right now. And so we finally got to get that out and play it. It's based off an old video game that's kind of, I wouldn't call it a platformer. Like, that's not at all the right word.
Yeah, it's a digging game.
Yeah.
You have like a vertical slice of a planet. You go down, you fill up your capacity, and then you go back up, you sell it, you upgrade, and repeat. And then you get more valuable stuff as you go down and higher upgrades. And then some of them have stories in them, but not all.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And so this is the board game adaptation of that. And so starting out, you lay down 2 tiles that represent the depth that you're digging down. And as you dig down, the board has little layouts for all the different elements or minerals that you can get and different types of terrain that, like, some of it you can drill through, some of it you need a special drill for, some of it you need a bomb to get through. It just kind of depends. And as you play, you take little pieces to represent digging down. They have little tunnel pieces that you take off and cover up on the board. And so it's kind of like in Barren Park and a few other games that are coming out right now, like what you cover up with that piece is what resources you get. And you just ultimately you work your way down, and as you get to the bottom of the current whatever the bottom tile is, and you get all the artifacts on that tile, whoever gets the last artifact grabs a new tile. The topmost tile goes off, and a new one comes on the board, and then you keep going down. You do that across 4 tiles, and then once the last artifact's taken off that 4th tile, the game's over, and you total up some points.
You're forgetting my favorite part.
Deck building.
It's a deck builder.
It is.
But it's sort of like an upgrade deck builder. You have 4 different colors: red, yellow, blue, and a wild. And then it goes like cheaper to more expensive as you buy the cards off the specific deck, and they are unique to each of the different players. So everyone can have different powers, and different cards do different stuff, but they're not crazy. They're like, get an extra turn, get a free bomb, draw an extra card. The artifacts can get a little crazier there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the deck building aspect of it a lot. But draw is not a default, like, it's the beginning of your turn, draw a card. Draw is an action,
Yep.
which I liked a lot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it definitely felt like deck building in a sense like Great Western Trail, that it's not, the game isn't centered around deck building in the same way that other deck builders are.
Yeah.
But
You're not burning through cows.
yes, no, you're not.
No. Yeah, and like I like that a lot of different things will let you draw cards besides action. So if you chain your things together really well, you can end up drawing cards without having to spend an action drawing cards. It's almost like that's there in case you find yourself in a situation where you don't have any. But the more you can avoid taking the draw cards action, the better you're going to perform in that game.
But then it also lets you, if you decide to draw, like if you have like 3 cards in your hand and they're like, they don't work well together, because like when you drill, it's just all about what, I'm going to do 3 drill actions with my red cards. So you can decide to draw to get your hand bigger. So you can, because I remember one of the times I just drawed twice my both actions, yeah. And so I had like 7 cards in my hand. I'm like, oh, next turn, shit's going down, because then you could just spend it all and do a lot of actions.
Yeah,
It's really good.
There's no hand size.
Yeah,
so you could just have a ton of cards and just be like 4. Well, I guess you can only drill up to 3. But
Yeah.
Bombs are cool. I like the bomb cards mostly because the red ones are the bomb cards, and depending on which red card you play, depends on how big or what size the bomb is.
Yeah.
I like that part.
Yeah, I like that they're different, like, because there was one that was like a 2x1, one that was a 3x1, and you could upgrade. Like one of my upgrades was a 4x1, but then basically like a text.
Like the Tetris piece,
Yeah,
the
Tetris piece,
little
yes.
like left or right angle
Yeah.
Tetris piece.
Yep, that's
L.
it. Yep, the
L block.
Yeah.
Yes.
El Tetronimo.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah, I like Super Motherlode. I think it's too long at 4-player. I would
agree with that,
I would like
yeah.
to try it at 3, see if it goes a little shorter. But it was not an overly long game at an hour and a half, hour and
Yeah.
40 minutes, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and then I was looking in the rule book, and if you drop down to 2 players, because since the timer on that game is digging up certain artifacts across the tiles, when you drop down all the way to 2 players, since there's less people doing the digging, you only dig down to the 3rd layer. You don't do that entire 4th tile,
That is correct.
which
yeah.
I think would also help. So I want to try it at both 3 and 2 and see, kind of figure out where that sweet spot is, because I agree with Jeff. 4 players felt just a hair too long, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. I think it was about an hour for the whole, little over an hour.
I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes, but that was with explanation and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Which kind of fit like 15 to 20 minutes too long. Like, I think this is a game that ideally you'd want to be able to bust out, teach, and play in under an hour.
yeah, I think you're saying that like once we finish the 3rd depth as a 4-player game, you're like, oh, this feels like it should be over now.
Yep.
So
Which, I mean, that'd be something too. Like, if you get this and you decide to play it, you could house rule that real easy. If you played it a few times, you're like, yeah, I feel like it should end just a little bit sooner, then house rule that in. That's not like that's a drastic change to be like, oh, we're going to play a slightly shorter game.
No, but I feel you'd miss out on a lot of the upgrades, and then the little. I mean, it's all victory point based. Of I don't know, what's the best example of the achievement things in there? Another game that uses similar.
Yeah.
Race for the Galaxy reminds me of, but you've never played with the objectives in Race for the Galaxy
No,
before.
I've never played with the
they're
objectives.
similar
I played
to
with
that.
them, yeah.
They're
It's the
similar
same
to
sort of
that.
thing, yeah.
But it's a deck that keeps refilling. Yeah. But they're worth like 2 points, 3 points. It's not a lot.
yeah. And so like when we were playing, the 4th person was Bob, and he actually ended the game early, partially because he could tell that Adrian was just like, this feels like it's going on for too long. But then because he ended it 1 turn earlier, it stopped me from getting 15 more points.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that made it so that he could win.
That sounds like king making.
Yeah,
Well, no.
But
so
Bob
Bob
won.
King
Bob
maked
did win.
himself.
So Bob did the best thing for himself.
He
Smart
made
ass.
himself.
No, because he asked me, he goes, Adrian, do you want this game to end? And I was like, well, not if it means you're going to throw the game just to make it end. Like, I don't like that's not satisfying at all. Like, we're playing the game, I'll play the game. And then he's like, well, actually, I think it might be in my best interest. And he kind of looks at Zach's stuff. He goes, oh yeah, I think this is definitely my best interest. And so he ended the game there. And sure enough, like it gave him the victory.
Yeah, I was in second by 5 points, and I was like, God damn it, Bob. But this was a game where, like, near the beginning, Adrian, it seemed like you felt like you're in a great place, and then everybody just shot drastically ahead of you.
Yep. That's been happening to me a lot in games. But yeah, it can be a little swingy depending on how that plays out.
Yeah.
Speaking of starting off good and then having everybody just blow right by me, I was playing an online game of Food Chain Magnate, which I'm super excited to discover that there's a really good online implementation for, and there's apparently a lot of people who like to play. So it's on play.boardgamecore.net, and they have Antiquity and Food Chain from Splotter, and then they have Versindesfolk, which is actually board game number 1 on Board Game Geek. Like, it's like the number for that game is number 1. That was the first game ever on Board Game Geek.
Oh, wow.
It's a very old German game about politics.
The first entry into Board Game
the
Geek.
first entry into Board Game Geek. So I was playing with Jamie Maltman, who does a lot of contributions for the What Did You Play This Week podcast, and Matt and Nathan, who are pretty active on Twitter.
So it's not a normal game. It is play by email.
No, it's a normal game. The emails are just an alert that it's your turn, and then you go on the browser and...
Yes, so it's play by email, alert-wise.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't you don't have to have the email alerts. You can just go over there and check the page and see if it's your turn.
It is not asynchronous.
It is asynchronous.
It is asynchronous.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's the word. That's the word.
It is asynchronous.
It is not synchronous. There
when you
go,
set
Jeff.
up the game,
turn-based, but
it's an online platform, and depending on who you're playing with and what the setup is, like I'm talking to Paul about trying to start doing some 2-player ones of this, or maybe like in the evenings if we don't feel like going and hanging out and playing Food Chain, we can just sit on the couch and just play it real quick. Where like if you're right there and you're able to take your turns right away, then you could be able to bust out a game of Food Chain in a couple hours because it handles all of the calculations for shipping, like goods and everything, like
that must
dinner
be
time.
Nice.
It's just like you hit finish, the final person hits finish on the working day, and it just instantly is like, all right, here's what sold and where it sold and how much money everybody made. And
I hope you didn't make any mistakes, because because we definitely made sure you got fucked.
Yep. So I started off really good in this game, and I thought I was going to run away with it. And then I didn't. I didn't at all. I got last out of the 4. I had a little under 200 points, and first and second were both a little over 400. So more than doubled my score.
But they said it was the most interesting game they had played in over 25 plays.
Yes. So Jamie said that it was a very interesting one the way it played out, and that that's one of the things he loves about this game is that 25 plays later, he's still finding new things and new ways that this game plays out and new strategies that kind of have to be taken into account just on the way the board's laid out and then the actions that people take, which that's the same thing I love about Food Chain is that no 2 plays feel particularly the same. Like you might have some vague strategies going in, like the early turns are not necessarily scripted, but there's definitely like some main paths, but beyond that it just goes nuts. So I had a lot of fun with that, and I'm going to be playing a whole lot more Food Chain online, so expect to hear more.
I'm glad to see that exists, just so I'm less likely to be asked to play that.
I'll never ask you to play that again. Now, some of our patrons, on the other hand.
Right, yeah.
What have you been playing, Jeff?
I played Zach's copy of Custom Heroes, the second game in the, card crafting system. Yeah. It was basically a trick-taking game, but the least thematic trick-taking game I've ever played.
I mean,
I guess it's like cribbage doesn't really have any theme to it.
I was going to say spades. I think that's a little less thematic.
Let's go 0.05 over spades, and that's this game.
Yeah.
Because it's basically just a card and then things you can stick on the card that change the name. And then there are some powers and stuff that you can add into the cards, which do add a lot more to the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But you start with we played a full player game. It was 6 players.
Yeah, 6 players.
So everyone gets 10 cards, and then you just start playing tricks. Like, I've got a 1. All right, who beats 1? All right, I got a 2. Who beats 2? All right, I got 2 1s out. Who can beat 2 1s? And then it's like, Trump. All right, I paid 2 gold to Trump.
So where does the cabbage fit into this?
So the cabbage, all the cards are like, I don't know, anime dudes or ladies or robots.
It's part of their Big in Japan series, so it has that sort of art style to it.
It is totally cool because the entire game is bilingual, English and Japanese. The rule book, all the cards. If you know English or Japanese, you can totally play this game no matter what version you have.
Oh yeah.
But so a 10, you could have like 2 9s in your hand. And then you could also have a 10, but then you have the cabbage, which gives a -1. So there's 4 little colored pips at the bottom. Only one, each card can have one of each of the colors, which is usually like a right-hand item, a left-hand item, a power, and then sort of, I don't know.
A border.
Yeah, a border of balloons or cats or or whatever, for whatever reason. But they all add numbers into the character. So if I want to play 3 9s, I can throw the cabbage into the 10, turn it into a 9, and then you play down 3 9s. That's mainly all those do.
Yeah. Like the first, because it technically can go up to 7 rounds. The first 1 or 2 rounds was very subdued. But then, like, near the end of the game, because the numbers originally start off as 1 to 10. And I remember one person was like, all right, well, I'm going to play a 24.
God. They were like, yeah, I've jacked this shit up real high.
Oh, yeah.
Because every time you finish a trick, it's a race to get rid of all your cards first. And whoever gets rid of them all first gets a bunch of points, but not a lot of upgrades.
Yep, or money.
Or money. And then don't be last because you get like the most, but actually like if you had more than 10 points that you need to score, you just go back to 9 just to discard the rest of your points.
Yeah, because to win, you need to have 10 points and then go first. Then
finish first.
Finish first, yeah.
Okay. But since you're putting all these upgrades and all these cards, they're just getting thrown into the trick and then just getting shuffled together. So the cards get spread out throughout the whole game. So these super powerful cards can kind of go to anyone.
Yeah. There are cards that everyone starts out with, or upgrades rather. The Trump ones that it's like you pay 2 money and this beats every other card.
Unless it's another Trump.
Yeah, unless it's another
Afterwards.
Trump. But it was really interesting because we all did that the first round, and then like the second or third round, I remember I got 3 Trump into my hands, but I had 0 money, and I'm like, God damn it.
But if you play a card and don't use its power, you can get a money. So you can kind of build it up depending on what you're doing.
But like the main thing with the tricks is, say I start off with 1 card, that trick is only 1 card's worth. So I couldn't play like 2 cards to try and beat it. So one of the first rounds, I had like 4 9s, and I was like, sweet, this is going to be great. Nobody played 4 9s to start, and like those are my only high cards. And so like I just had those cards in my hand the entire time because I couldn't lead a trick in order to, like, I couldn't win a trick in order to throw those on there.
Yep.
If I won tricks, I'd just be like, all right, here's 4 10s.
Yeah.
Fuck off, everyone.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, I finished? Weird.
Yeah. Because, winning a trick just basically means you get to, say what the next trick's going to be. So it's easier to get rid of cards.
Yeah. The powers were sort of interesting. I noticed a lot of people skipping most of them.
The main ones that people use were like, this card counts as 2 copies of itself.
Okay.
Or switch how, like, instead of going up in numbers, it goes down in numbers. I remember one
Or
time.
as the lowest.
Yeah, I put that on a 1, and I was like, sweet, here we go. But because if someone put a cabbage on a 1, that'd bring it down to a 0 or negative points.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of negatives.
No.
But a lot of positives.
yes, very much so. And fucking Andy won. I was going to win on my turn, and he was 2 before me, and he ended up winning. I was super pissed.
The upgrade cards are cool. How you draw them, there's just kind of like a, I don't know, Crown Royal bag of cards. But
You're not wrong.
It is also card sized.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just kind of take cards out of there because you don't want to see what upgrades you're getting and stuff. So it's supposed to be random.
Yeah.
Setup breakdown was actually a lot faster than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Because you're just pulling all the sleeves out. All the upgrades go together. All the trump cards get set aside.
Yeah, it's not like Mystic Vale where there's like, oh, these are the basic ones. These are level 1, 2, and 3. It's just all of them get piled together except for the trump and then the power that you start with.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't notice anything that had anything to do with the theme at any point in the game except for changing numbers.
Yeah.
was all art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I was a little concerned with. Like Mystic Vale, the theme's there, but it's pretty disconnected from the gameplay itself. And looking at Custom Heroes, I was worried that it seemed like that's even worse.
Yeah.
It's a fun game.
It was a fun game, yeah.
But the first thing I think after we finished, I was like, the theme doesn't exist on this game.
I mean, pretty much everything you said about it makes me just want to play VC, which is another trick-taking game that I used to play from popular in Houston. I don't know.
It's called VC.
It's Vietnamese cards.
Okay. I've never played.
I have not either.
Well, we own decks of cards.
We own
And
lots
we
of decks of
we go to
cards.
a weekly game night that we
Well,
can
in
try
fact,
these things out.
I own 12 decks of bicycle playing cards. Thanks, Costco.
Yeah, how many of those have you opened?
2.
As is tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Custom Heroes. I've definitely played again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We'll maybe review it.
Right on.
Our friend Wes was like, after he played it, he's like, I need to play this a couple more times to see if it's a game where it's like you play a couple times, you're like, okay, I get it, or you play it a couple times, you're like, okay, I get it, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I don't need to
Whether
play
it's
it.
like, I figured, like, I've gotten I get all I can out of
Exactly,
this game.
yes,
I
there
get
you
it.
go.
Or like, I see what the draw of this game
Yeah,
is.
I can definitely agree with that too. Yeah, I like that it is also like, even though it is the same card crafting system, it feels different.
Yes, it is. It has nothing to do with the same kind of card crafting playing as Mystic Vale.
Yes, yeah,
Cool. David, what about you? What have you been playing?
Well, I played King Domino, Spyfall 2, and Secret Hitler at game night. King Domino I hadn't played, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's kind of a game where I didn't know if I would like it because there really isn't any player interaction. But then after I was playing it, it's like it takes 15 minutes, so there's really. I enjoyed that part of it, and I was glad that it was quick. So you can kind of play multiple times because everybody that I played with the first time had not played at all before. So we had that first round of, now we played it, and then we all bumbled around, and then now we figured it out. So we'll play the second round for real.
Yeah,
and that was all within 1 hour of learning the game and all that, which was cool, which was super cool.
I've really wanted to play more King Domino. I had played it with Kyle from Sounding Board the first time. I don't know, 2 months ago at this point. I like that game a lot. There's a reason it won some awards.
Yep.
yeah.
Yes. No, it was really good. I'm kind of curious how it plays at 2 players, because I was thinking, I liked it at 4. It has a version for 2, and I don't know how that would play. I guess because with the 4 player, you have 4 people who are all competing for the different pieces, so you have to keep in track of what they have. With 2 player, you have 2 pieces, so I guess there's still 4 pieces that you're going for, but you get to pick 2 of them in different order. But it'll be interesting to see if at 2 players it's significantly different strategy wise.
I like the auction mechanic in that game.
Yeah, no, I liked it too.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet. I'd like to give it a shot. I've heard really good things. Obviously, it has won a lot of awards and is super popular right now. So
You'll give any game 10 minutes, right?
I will give any game 10 minutes. Well, I will play any game that takes less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This game takes 15 minutes.
So I will still give it. I will still give
Two-thirds
it
of
a
the way
shot.
through, he's just like, fuck it, I'm done.
Fuck it. I haven't
up and
shipped
walks away.
one pizza.
No, one thing that I did notice, at least in the second game. In the first game, it was kind of a constant speed throughout. In the second game, the first several rounds went real fast, and then once it started getting to like, okay, now we're halfway through the rounds, so now we need to look at what other people have and actually kind of think about it. So it became slower as the game went on. Like the first couple of rounds were super fast because everybody was like, oh, I'm doing my own thing, and then now I have to figure out which of these tiles is best for me now that I'm running out of space.
Gotcha. Cool.
How was Spyfall 2?
I mean, it felt very similar to Spyfall 1. We were playing with 2 spies, which we'd kind of we'd done before.
They jacked up the player count, right?
Yeah, it goes to 12 now.
Jeez.
Because Spyfall 1 goes to 8, but there's only 1 spy, and we'd played it with 2 spies, but we played it slightly different than they do. But it was fine. It was nice to have the new locations, but I did like that they seemed more consistent than some of the locations in Spyfall 1. Because in Spyfall 1, there's the Crusader army, which is kind of all by itself.
Right, yeah.
And so it's hard to...
Or Space Station.
Yeah, Space Station didn't feel as egregious in that regard.
Because then there was like the Arctic station. And
there was like a submarine too.
Yeah.
So there were things that were close enough to a space station.
Okay.
But the Crusader army was one that always stuck out as like, this is weird. How do I ask questions about
right,
this?
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it felt more consistent in that way, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about having 2 spies because it just. I mean, when we were, I did not end up being a spy in 3 of the rounds, but usually what would happen, and maybe it's because not everybody was super experienced, but like the first spy would become really apparent pretty quickly, and then it was like, well, we'll just wait to see if we can figure out who the second spy is, and then we'll start guessing.
There you go.
Which I don't know. I think that's partially because I played a lot of Spyfall 1, and then it seemed like everybody we were playing with, for the most part, there were a lot of new people, so they didn't know how to ask the questions or play off of that. So,
did you guys have like a cheat sheet for all the locations
no.
for everybody?
No, we were playing Paul's copy, and he hadn't printed one, but we did have we had the one that comes in the game manual, and like we were pretty. I mean, I try to encourage people to, make sure that you're looking at this when you're answering or asking your question, because when you're a spy, you're definitely going to be looking at this, and so you don't want to give it away just by, David hasn't been looking at the sheet at all. He's not a spy, and then now he's staring at the sheet for 5 minutes. Obviously, he's a spy. So, but
Murder him.
Yeah, no, the cheat sheets are definitely, you need them for both versions of Spyfall, just so everybody can have that little sheet to look at.
That's good to hear, yeah.
And then Secret Hitler was awesome. We had me and Paul were both fascists, and then Natalie was a fascist. And we were all in the corner, so I kind of felt like we were in trouble. But then we managed to we managed to run that game, like me and Paul, which was...
Oh, yeah, I can buy that, yeah.
Yeah, so we hit the first one. I got the first one where I got to look at someone's card. So I looked at Bob's card, and I was like, okay, Bob's the liberal. And then Paul was right after me, and he looked at my card and said that we were both liberals. Mm-hmm. And then Natalie kind of got outed as a fascist early, and then she played that super well. Like, she was just opposing everything that she should have and voted, in ways to make it like everybody knew she was bad, voted like it was bad, which was great. And then I don't know how we managed to do this, but I managed to be the person that got to shoot people both times.
Yeah.
Nice. Who did you shoot? Did you shoot Bob?
No. I did not shoot Bob. But so Natalie was pretty much known as a fascist at that point. So I was like, well, it doesn't make sense to shoot Natalie because obviously she's not Hitler.
Just ignore her.
Yeah, ignore her. And so I managed to make it to where, they were happy with me shooting a liberal.
Okay.
Which was nice. And then the second time it happened, Bob was like, shoot Hitler, because he had some idea of who Hitler was. I'm like, we're going to shoot this person who's a liberal.
Nice.
And then at that point, we elected Hitler as chancellor. So
Who was Hitler?
Who was Hitler, yeah.
Ariel or something? I don't know. She's new.
Newer player.
I'd never met her before. So, but yeah, no, it was great.
Nice. I like Secret Hitler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I should replace those missing parts so I can actually play my copy.
You really should.
That's pretty unfortunate.
Yep.
Well, I think that kind of wraps up everything that we've been playing recently.
Pretty much, yeah.
I watched an adjacent game of Terraforming Mars on the new map.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle brought it to Barrels, yeah.
I didn't see how they ended up, but I watched the map fill up.
You did,
as they played the game.
Stared longingly.
Mm-hmm. As we were playing, what were we playing next to it? Super Motherlode, while they were playing Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering...
We had two Martian games.
I've heard so much about how good Terraforming Mars solo is. I'm thinking that might be a good... Since I don't have the insert, I'm not going to take it around to go play it with groups because it'll just be a big pain in the ass. But I figure I could probably set it up real nice on my coffee table. So when I'm sitting around today, all day watching stupid HBO movies, I could also play Terraforming Mars.
What were the stupid HBO movies that you were watching?
Well, so they actually weren't stupid. They were good movies.
Then why call him stupid?
Because he's stupid.
Jeff gets it. Because I was just wasting my time just watching movies. I did nothing productive today. I just sat around and watched movies all day, which is a stupid thing to do.
Were they new movies to you?
No.
Okay. Well, which ones were they?
So first, just to really get my day off on the right, frame of mind, I watched Rosewood.
I don't know which one that is.
I don't know what the movie that is.
So Rosewood is a older movie from the 90s starring Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, John Voight, and a few other fairly major actors. The T-1000 guy from Terminator. But basically, it is the story of how in the 1920s, a woman's false rape accusation led to a fairly prosperous black Florida town being burnt to the ground and a whole bunch of people being lynched and murdered. Very uplifting movie.
Super.
It's a really good movie, though. I like it, and I think that movies like that call attention to those kinds of things are good. It wasn't until way later, in the 1970s, 80s maybe, that finally the state of Florida acknowledged what happened and paid out reparations to the families who lost everything. Like their houses were burnt to the ground, their property was stolen, and a whole lot of them were murdered. But it's a good movie. Really dark though. Definitely not something to watch if you want to feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to take away from the somber tone of that movie, but I would like to point out that Adrian did say an older movie from the 90s.
He did.
The 90s feel like so long ago.
1997, by the way.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, that movie's 20 years old. Like that's
Yeah, I don't think that counts as an older movie, though.
older. Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently, there's a TV show called Rosewood as well.
Is it about
probably
the same
not
thing?
related?
It is an American police procedural drama on Fox, so I don't think it is.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
What else did you watch?
Then don't remember what. Then to just go in a completely different direction, and this actually was a shitty bad movie. I watched X-Men Apocalypse.
An older movie from like 2 years ago.
No, not an older movie.
A classic.
But I hadn't seen it before, and so I was like,
I still haven't seen it.
I was like, I
saw
guess
it.
I'll watch it, and that was a bad choice. It was a bad choice.
Bad choice.
Don't watch X-Men Apocalypse, everyone. If you haven't already, don't watch it.
Watch
What
it
if
for
you're
the
like-
Quicksilver scene.
What if you're really into Olivia
That was cool.
Munn?
The Quicksilver scene was awesome. If you're really into what?
If you're really into Olivia Munn, is it worth watching?
No.
No.
Okay.
And then I didn't get to finish it, but I started and got like 2/3 of the way through Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And then that was about the time you guys were supposed to be getting here, and so I switched over and
I
threw
was
on
here
Ice
on
Climbing
time.
World Championships. You were on time.
well, like I was saying earlier,
That's been a fantastic diversion, though. Why are
Right.
we talking about what I watched for TV? What I watched on TV?
I was
today?
saying, like I said earlier, I had watched an entire season, the second season of BoJack Horseman today. Hence why I drank an entire fucking bomber of 10% alcohol.
10% liquor. Mm-hmm. My
That's
lord.
some weak ass liquor.
Yeah.
All right,
You really want to
beer.
hate yourself. Drink some Malort after that.
all right. So I'm cutting this banter off. We're done with banter. We're moving on.
Is it news time?
I think so.
Moving on to the news. First up on news, our Force Friday has appeared and everything sold out. That's the Last Jedi merchandise crap
yeah.
that they release. I think Target does a big to-do with that. I remember that nightmare last year. Star Wars Destiny 2-player was announced at Force Friday. It's basically Star Wars Destiny, the 2-player game.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
I think you can carry all this shit over into the regular game.
Yeah, I think it has some alternate arts and maybe a couple new cards. But like when it got announced, I was like, wait, what's the difference between that and regular Destiny? And I guess regular Destiny, it was just like you bought either the Rey pack or the Kylo Ren pack.
And this has both?
This has both. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's a starter set.
It's a mix of previously released Destiny cards and brand new characters, upgrade, support, battlefields, and events. So I'd never really looked much into Destiny
It's a collectible card game.
because and that's something I don't
Collectible
care about.
dice game.
Yeah, which
Oh
is
God!
even more something I don't care about.
I just started bleeding from my eyes.
So
Destiny
looking at
has
this,
dice.
It does, yeah.
The art is like it's based on the films, like it's clearly based on the films. Looking at it, but it's not very well. Like they should have
It's-
just went with like screens from the films.
It's the very similar art to X-Wing and Armada, is what it is.
Well, I haven't looked closely at those
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah, it's the
It's-
same sort of art style. So
lame. I don't care.
reimagined.
Well, so I like so looking here, like Captain Phasma's blaster's got like Phasma on it, and she looks awesome. And like this Kylo Ren, like in his full like suit, looks awesome. But like up above Kylo Ren, like just as himself, or like the Rey card, like the people art doesn't look there's some uncanny valley thing going on with
'cause-
the artwork on these faces.
It's because Kylo Ren looks like a bitch without his helmet on.
That's also a true statement.
you're not wrong.
Yeah, he really needs that mask all the time. But so that was what
a
was announced for Force Friday.
Yep. We thought it was going to be the X-Wing Last Jedi wave, but
Yeah.
they have not announced any Last Jedi stuff. They
No,
announced some new waves.
They did, yeah, for X-Wing and Armada, and I didn't see anything that was related
Nothing
to
from the new stuff.
Yeah.
I think there are leaks out there of like
I'm sure,
Last
yeah.
Jedi stuff, but those aren't hard to find.
If you are interested in Destiny, the 2-player game, it's available for $30. from Fantasy Flight. So
And then hundreds and hundreds of dollars in random boosters if you so wish to spend.
Yep.
correct.
Boo.
Right on.
Moving on, Fantasy Flight has announced Battle for Rokugan, which is in the Legend of the Five Rings universe.
Correct.
Ant is immediately out on this because they have cut his favorite clan.
And that it didn't have any minis too.
Yeah,
so.
which looking at it, the picture of the board all set up, like you've got player screens and cards and shits, it immediately looks to me like this is Game of Thrones, but
like 2.0
in Legend of
or
the Five
3.0,
Ring.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
In Legend of the Five Ring universe. Like that's immediately what that looks like to me.
Here's a license we own.
Right.
Well, and this one is 2 to 5 players versus that one's 2 to 6 players.
Yeah. 7 great clans inhabit this diverse realm, ever loyal to the Emperor, but fighting for dominance amongst themselves. I mean, that's not that far off from what the plot of Game of Thrones is.
guess.
Although less loyal to the Emperor
Yeah.
in that.
I don't know anything about Legend of the Five Rings, so.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't either. I know Andy really likes it. And
It was
I
a
know
pretty
Ant
early
really likes it.
CCG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Magic
Well, I mean, it was
Arrow.
still alive until a couple years ago.
Now, the LCG exists, which Ant was also not so hot on.
Yeah.
Ant is really our go-to Legend of the Five Rings fan that we get all of our news from. So.
Yeah.
Correct.
But that'll be covered for Fantasy Flight here sooner or later.
It's available for pre-order for $40.
yeah.
from
Oh,
Fantasy
I mean,
Flight.
$40?
Well, you need 3 core sets.
Yeah, you do.
This is an
It
actual
does
board
that.
game.
It did that.
And it's a Fantasy Flight one, so yeah.
Yeah, this is an actual board game, so there is none of those shenanigans.
Yeah. You need 3 copies.
But yeah.
It looks good. I like the art style. I like a lot of stuff that goes on with that game. For $40, I'm not totally out.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Next up on news, Altaplano from the creator of Orlan, or however you want to say it.
That's a
not-
way to
that is
say
a
it.
way
It's
to
not
say
a right way to say it. Orléans, if you
Orléans,
really want to
yeah.
be French about it.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go full American, Orleans or
Orleans.
Orleans, that's the one.
Allens.
Nolans.
Orleans.
It's just it's not New Orleans.
Right.
Orleans.
So it's just Allens.
Orleans, yeah.
Arlen's.
So this is a bag builder game.
Which Orleans is like.
Yeah.
Or it is, rather.
We just throw
It
that
is
one.
like because it is.
It has artwork by Zach's favorite board game artist, Clemens Franz.
All right, I'm going to take this glass and just smash it into my face now.
It's a complex strategic game where 2 to 5 players work to collect and organize goods. And some aren't always available to everybody because apparently in this game, each player starts with unique resources and roles. And so apparently there's also some goods storage and delivery stuff going on there. Yeah, I don't know. They don't have a whole lot on it currently, unless you speak German, in which case you can go to the DLP website and read their German press release. But this will be debuting at Spiel in October, so hopefully we will have much more information on it shortly.
All that hot spiel news is coming out.
Spiel.
Next up on news, there is another Mystic Vale expansion
Conclave.
titled Conclave.
Yeah. So I actually just the other day, and I forgot to mention this previously, but I filled out some survey related to Mystic Vale, and so they sent me some promo cards. And along with the promo cards is a sheet talking about all their expansions and upcoming things. So I had heard a little bit about Conclave beforehand, and then now there's even more information here in this press release. The thing that kind of catches me off guard about this, so first the gameplay side of things. It adds more cards and adds some new rules.
That makes it faster.
That supposedly makes it faster, but they also add 2 decks, so now it can play up to 6 players instead of 4. So that might just kind of end up balancing out in the end. I don't know. But it has an Equinox rules, which are what allow for faster gameplay, which I think is like a variant. There are also now conclaves that allow you to customize decks of advancement and veils, totem cards to give you unique abilities, and now new spirit counters. So you can keep track better of I've earned all the, instead of having go through your cards and count them all. And now as you okay, I play this card, it's 1, I'll just take a counter. And then I play this one, it's 2, I take counters. And then at the end, then you just spend the counters as you spend them.
I think that's pretty good.
I think that's a really good
That sounds
choice.
like a good idea.
Those are the fancy spiral things that you spend
Yeah.
on the the Vale cards.
Yeah. So the thing that throws me off about this, though, is so I have Mystic Vale. I really like Mystic Vale, and I've got one expansion.
I like
My
Mystic Vale,
box
too.
isn't nearly full, whereas this is a bigger box meant to hold all the expansion. I can't imagine that the other 2 expansions that are currently available take up so much room that there's not room in that box anymore.
Well,
especially if you go ahead and like bag everything, like sleeve and bag,
Right.
and then throw out the insert. Like then it certainly fit in the base
Well,
box.
I think it's like I think that's the main thing is you said throwing out the insert.
I don't need even with the insert, I don't think I need a bigger box.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe they're just sort of planning for the future.
Future-proofing?
Yeah, future proofing.
I have
Maybe.
a lot of Mystic Vale.
Because I'm sure with 4 expansions, yours would start to get a little bit fuller with even with the expansion or
Yeah.
with the insert. So,
I clearly don't spend enough money
Yeah.
on board games.
well, it's like I mean, this is by AG.
Yes.
the same guys that did Smash Up, which
Yes,
the
which
original
also had the big geeky box.
Well, I was gonna say the original box could still hold a decent amount of those expansions, but eventually got to the point where it was
yeah.
yeah.
Because
So
every expansion added 4 new factions,
Yeah.
which Mystic Vale's not quite that ridiculous.
right.
But I don't know. We'll see. I still need to pick
Making
up some
it
of the other
faster, I
expansions.
think, is gonna
Yes.
really interest me.
That I do agree. It would benefit from being faster, and especially if it speeds it up enough, and depending on how it speeds it up, I like the idea that it jumps to 6 players because, we're always looking for games at game night that can fit more people that are easy enough to explain. And that's one thing I do like about Mystic Vale. It's not a very complicated game to get new players playing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
It's a game I want to own more of and don't. I need to catch it used at Black and Red like last time. I missed out.
Tisk,
Shame.
Tisk.
I need to go Black and Red more. That's clearly
Yes.
That's clearly the.
That is a factual statement.
Yeah.
All right. What's next, Jeff?
Next up is artificial intelligence. Nothing to do with the flawed masterpiece that is the Steven Spielberg movie.
Correct. So no.
You're telling me that Haley Joel Osment does not appear at all in this?
Correct. And also no Jude Law as a prostitute robot.
Nippleless
Gigolo?
prostitute robot.
No, so artificial intelligence, there's not a whole lot of information out about it, but there is enough information to get me immediately excited. So it takes place in 2090, and AI is now a thing, and it's in this game you're going to take on the role of corporations that are trying to kind of manipulate AI to make the most money and be the best, which that already sounds kind of interesting. But then I found out that it is from Nuno Santiago and Paulo Soledad, who are 2 fantastic Portuguese heavy game designers. And it's going to be published by the Italian publisher What's Your Game, who also puts out some really good.
They were the people who did
Euros.
like Panamax and then
Yes.
Brazil, which is coming out soon. So
Yes.
You saw people playing Panamax at the
I
Alamo
did
Draft
on
House game
That
meetup.
week and a half ago.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you were real jealous, and you were like, "I need to be friends with those people."
Right, yes.
yeah, I heard the tears.
Yeah, I really need to play Panamax. But so a little bit more about the game. So it's an action selection game featuring hand management, stock holding, and variable phase order, which also all sound just so right in my wheelhouse. It's an
Yeah.
economic game, science fiction theme with AI, and yeah, known designers, known publisher.
Are there zombies?
They're not zombies.
Not yet.
Only they checked that box.
No, they didn't hit the zombie box, but they hit all the other boxes that need to be hit. So I'm excited for AI. Or I think it's actually artificial intelligence
It is.
is the full name. I don't
It was easier for me to just put AI.
well,
in the
although
sheet.
even on BGG, they do have it in parentheses as AI next to the artificial intelligence. So I don't know what it'll actually be branded as.
I was a little bit curious to see if you guys, because I did capital A, capital I. If you guys are like, what is Al?
Well, and especially because the original press release you sent us had right at the top Altiplano at the top. So yes, when I first opened, I saw I thought it was AI, and then I opened it and I was like, oh, he put Altiplano on here again. And then I scrolled down a bit and I was like, oh wait, no.
Yep.
That's a totally different game.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's artificial intelligence.
Indeed.
What's up next, Jeff?
Last up, probably the biggest news of the week. There is a new pandemic game coming out called Rising Tide that also has nothing to do with diseases or plagues or anything like that. It also has to do with building dams in the Netherlands.
Yes. Which so raises the very first question is I don't know why they still call this pandemic.
It's the system.
It's the system, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the pandemic system.
Yeah.
I mean, are Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert not close enough to pandemic that they should be Pandemic Forbidden Island?
Well, Forbidden Island I've heard described as pandemic light, not
It
so
really
much Forbidden Desert. Forbidden Desert plays different enough.
True.
But don't they still have that same escalation phase?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the drawing cards and then certain cards like ramp it up further. But
Yeah, I mean, that for me is the biggest Matt Leacock / pandemic marker.
It's definitely a
Well, this has cubes, so
Oh, fancy.
yes, and regions that gain cubes, and
And I assume they're water cubes.
that's what they appear to be.
they are
Yes.
blue. Yes.
So my favorite thing about this, well, no, so let me rephrase that entirely. The
Adrian, what's your
morbidly-
favorite thing about this?
The morbidly humorous thing about this was the timing of the release for this game, which happened to coincide very strongly with Hurricane Harvey in Houston and all of the flooding that's going on in Texas.
Another thing where board games are taking their theming too seriously.
Yeah, which is like the fifth time this has happened in the last few months.
Yeah. Well, it's basically they had to put out a press release. They were like, "Sorry that we happened to accidentally release this when a hurricane was going on," which is entirely out of their control. And I don't see any reason why anyone would actually blame them.
I think
Yeah,
they'd
but
even
some people
offered-
did though.
I know, and
some
it's
people got really
just
upset about
stupid.
it. And yeah, it's not, this is a game that takes place in hundreds of years ago in the
I don't think
Netherlands.
it's not. That's not that far back. Like
But-
there are advancements you can make in this game that are dams that the Netherlands had built in the 1970s.
Well, we know that the
I thought I heard somebody say
1990s
it
are
was much
super
older than
old
that.
for Adrian.
Yeah,
So the 70s have to be.
the 70s are hundreds of years ago.
It has to do with some modern Marvel dam building as well.
I could have sworn I saw something that said it was like in
It
the
might take place over an
1800s
era
or something.
or a few eras, but
Maybe.
I know one of the you can make some more current stuff.
Gotcha.
And so it says here that Z-Man is happy to announce Pandemic Rising Tide, the next title in the new survival series of Pandemic games.
It has to be
Okay.
part of. They probably would have called Iberia that had
Yeah.
that name existed then.
Right, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if future printings have that on there.
Yeah,
For Iberia.
I always thought Iberia was going to be a one-off thing.
I think it's still going to be that, yeah.
It just still exists.
We'll see.
I'm glad that I bought it, though.
I like Iberia a lot.
Yeah.
Also, it was 1997 that Delta Workin was completed.
Oh, so it's the same time as this movie that
It was long
a long time ago.
Long time ago.
It's a super old movie we talked about.
That was like centuries ago.
Oh, yeah, it was very long ago.
Yeah.
But gameplay wise, I think it's going to play differently enough than regular Pandemic
Yeah.
that I could throw this in my collection.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah.
It looks good. Maybe I'll wait for the sale to come down, but
I mean, I think it would also depend on when people actually get a chance to play it and like reviews of it. If they're like, "Oh, this is actually really good," then it's something you might want to get, like Iberia was.
yeah, Iberia I bought immediately.
Yep.
Iberia's not. I thought it was going to be a limited thing.
I think it is, but limited, quote unquote. Like we're only going to do 300,000 copies, and that's it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get less burned on this one.
We'll
the
see.
last two, the Cthulhu one and Iberia. I
The
bought full
Cthulhu
price.
one was not.
Yeah, I could have told stay away from the Cthulhu one.
Well, I don't listen to you.
If it
Yeah.
had been zombies, you would have been all over that shit. Don't even talk.
Maybe. I've gotten more skeptical about zombies.
Yeah, but this isn't a zombie dice rolling game.
I'm still more skeptical about zombies than I used to be.
That's it for news. Pandemic Rising Tide coming soon somewhere. Hopefully a game store.
Correct.
Now we go on to the Kickstarter portion of today's episode. First up on Kickstarters is Scandinavia and the World, there's a bunch of other things to that title that I didn't write down.
A heap of trouble.
A heap of trouble.
Which is just so much more than what you wrote.
yeah.
It's like you went through a heap of trouble to
It's
not
not-
fully write them.
There's only so much space on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So the only reason I really care to talk about this game at all, well, first, do you have hot stats?
Adrian has to shut up first.
Do you have hot
And then-
stats?
Yep. $40,600 versus $19,400, 1,700 backers. This one's got about 3 weeks and funds for only you can back for only $21.
Yeah, so the main reason I want to talk about this game, and I think, Zach, you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
The gameplay itself doesn't super interest me, but this is based on a webcomic that is hilarious.
It's a really good webcomic. This the game looks to be some sort. They describe it as a lighthearted bidding game, which
Yeah.
it's good to see that it's not. It's not, and I don't see how it could be, but it's not like Card Against Humanity style or Joking Hazard style or
Yeah.
something like that.
Which, like, as much as I like Cyanide and Happiness, the comic, I was disappointed in the direction they took with Joking Hazard. Mm-hmm. This one, like I said, it looks like they didn't go the same way, which is nice. It's not just something cashing out on like, oh, this game is meant to be really offensive and play off of all of your worst inner humor ideas or
Yeah.
whatever. But that being said, the gameplay itself still just didn't really super appeal to me looking at it. But the comic is really funny.
Yeah.
Just like,
Well, it's really funny, but then it's also like you'll see them mention something about Finland, and you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about, and it's just like you're basically like, what are they talking about? And you look into like Finland's deep culture and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, in this specific instance, they were talking about this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, it makes a lot more sense now.
so the whole like pretense of the webcomic is that the countries are represented by their own like characters. Like there's like a person who is Finland. And
Yeah.
There's a person who is like Denmark, and a person who is the U.S.
The U.S. guy's hilarious.
and yeah, it's
Unsurprisingly, a lot of the country people are a lot more subdued than the U.S. person. So,
Weird.
yeah.
yes.
Are y'all familiar with the Poland Ball comics?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Very similar.
Yeah, it's similar in that regard, yeah.
So that's
But yeah, so that's Scandinavia and the world. A heap of trouble.
up next on Kickstarters is Mint Delivery. This one has 99,000 of its $10,000 goal, 5,700 backers, and a little bit less than 3 weeks to go. You can back this one for only $10, like I did immediately as soon as I found out this was alive.
Yep. Also backing, I backed his first game, Mintworks, which it's amazing to see the difference in success. Like
Yeah.
Mintworks funded, and it funded well, but it didn't fund, 10 times the base pledge well.
Well, you remember, like, you and I backed it Mintworks first, and then Jeff, like, once we got
played
our
it.
once we got our copies, Jeff and Paul played it, and they're like, we need to own this now.
It was like, it's $12.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So that's immediately doubled its interest
Yeah.
just from our 4-player group. So
I mean, I enjoyed Mintworks too. So, I mean, I think it's partially because Mintworks was so successful and people enjoyed it that this one is
definitely.
that
Yep.
big. It's not, I think if they'd gone different orders, Mintworks would have been in the same position this one probably is.
I agree with that.
Which, looking at, so I just pulled it up. So Mintworks ended with 6,600 backers pledging 89,000. So they had almost 1,000 more backers than Mint Delivery currently does, but it pledged for about 10,000 less, which I'm assuming, if I look down here, I haven't scrolled through all of their pledge tiers. Yeah, $20 or more, you get one of each.
Yeah.
So I imagine that there's 2,000 backers at that level. So yeah, there's a bunch of people who are like, oh, I can get both of them now through this Kickstarter.
I mean,
which is
that's what
helping
I'm going to
get that
do
price up.
like as soon as I get home.
You're telling me you don't have the Kickstarter app and you aren't immediately doing it right now?
I don't remember my Kickstarter password.
That's always the pain.
Yeah.
Once again, just make every password the same, then you never have to worry about it.
Yeah, I heard that's how you make it the most secure.
It is, yes.
You make one really good password and just blanket put it on everything.
Yeah.
My password is Hunter2.
Ooh.
Oh,
I just heard a bunch of asterisks.
I know.
it's funny how that works. Anyway, so Mint Delivery, I'm even more excited for than I was for Mintworks. Like Mintworks is a pretty simple like worker placement game. This is a delivery game.
Looks a lot like a train game.
Yeah.
Looks very similar to a train game.
But then also because you had no reason to be super interested in Mintworks. Like you're like, oh, let's see if it works versus like we know that even though it's a very small game and it's a light game that it is still a very interesting game. So now you have that sort of expectation.
Correct.
It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy versus Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So
yes. What? See
it's
now?
not
you've-
a burn.
Now you've immediately made me nervous because one did not live up to the hype of the
It's
other.
$10.
Yeah.
No, I'm absolutely.
Well, that's
because
because one didn't have hype and then one had a shit ton of hype. I'm just saying.
This new Mint Delivery game costs less than the ticket you purchased to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
And Mint Delivery has Kurt Russell in it. So
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So Mint Delivery, go pick it up, and if you want to get Mintworks while you're at it, there's a pledge for that. So go check it out.
Can't go wrong.
it's definitely worth getting both if you don't have either.
I would agree.
Next up on Kickstarters is Island of El Dorado. Another well-funded 83,000 of its $27,500 goal. About 1,400 backers, a little less than 3 weeks, and you can pledge this one for about $49.
Just gonna get it out of the way. So this is a tile laying game where you're exploring, trying to find the 4 shrines that are part of the island of El Dorado. But the tiles you use to expand, oh my god, the artwork is fantastic. Like the tiles look really, really good. And then I personally love the like all black box that they have
Right.
for it. From the Kickstarter page, they say that this is a mix of different genres. Now, granted, this comes entirely from the Kickstarter page, so they're obviously hyping their game. But it says, inspired by many games, gameplay feels familiar but plays unlike any other. It has been categorized as a Euro, 4X, Civilization, War, and Race game, but is not exclusively any of those. Those are all genre-type things that I really like, so...
Well, and it has unique player powers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's good.
And they claim that there's 10 to the 60 possible map layouts. I'm not going to do the math on the number of tiles and how they get placed to figure out what the upper limit is on possible map layouts.
So one of the interesting things I think is that this has dice in the game, but it's like you roll them and you choose one for your movement, and the other one is going to be the number of resources you gather each turn. But then they have it actually shows in here. It's like, do you dislike luck in games? Check out this section, and they have a less luck dependent variation too.
Yeah, which is fantastic because some of us really don't like luck.
For whatever reason.
Although, to be fair, that version of doing it where you roll a dice and you pick one for your movement and then the other one becomes your production, occasionally you'll get screwed and you'll roll snake eyes, but most of the time that should be fairly balanced.
Yeah. But the less luck dependent one is you roll one die and then you get the top of one, the top of the die is one of them and the bottom of the die is the other. So it always adds up to 7.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's if you rolled a 1, then your other one's going to be a 6. So you're not super fucked. You're I'm either getting a shitload of resources, or I am moving a lot this turn. So
as I've also talked about, I prefer input randomness to output, and this is definitely input randomness. Yes. I think I would probably
just roll the 3 dice.
I would probably roll the dice. Yeah.
Be let's hope I get 2 6s.
That sure would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it looks real good.
Yeah, it looks real good.
Mm-hmm. Island of El Dorado, funding soon.
Yep.
Well, backing soon.
If you're interested.
Yeah. You got weeks.
Yep.
Take a look.
Weeks for those 2 dice.
Next up on Kickstarters is Horizons. Another funded one, 34,000 of its 20,000 goal, 700 backers. This one's got about 2 weeks, and you can back this one for about $39.
Yep. So the main thing that interests me about this one is just their tagline, Euro-friendly, decision-driven, 4X style game that lets 2 to 5 players explore and control a new star cluster in about an hour. So a 4X board game that plays in about an hour, that sounds pretty cool. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of some of the artwork that they have out. I'm not nearly going to gush about it like I did El Dorado just now. But yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on it. Always interested in potential for new 4X games.
It looks like a good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Up next on Kickstarters is Alexandria. Funded 54,000 of its 20,000 goal, about 11,050 backers, about 3 weeks, and you can get a regular edition for $29 and a deluxe edition for $44.
You did it again, Jeff. It's not 11,050 backers. It's 1,160 backers.
So,
yeah. 1,160.
Tens of thousands of backers.
I don't know what is happening to you,
I
Jeff.
don't know.
You're having a stroke?
I worked today, unlike the rest of you people.
This is true. So this is being put out by Luda Creations, fairly super well-established board game people. It's a sandbox adventure Euro game that features set collection, time management, and action point allowance.
And this has to do with the burning of the library at Alexandria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it has a basic edition that's uses standees and things like that. And then there's a deluxe edition that uses a whole bunch of wooden components. So if you really want to go above and beyond, you can go that route. But yeah, it's a Euro game. It takes supposedly 45 to 60 minutes to play, which that's what I look for more of, is games that I can play that have some good solid decision making and stuff and take right around an hour. And so the basic idea of this game is that you're these different heroes who are trying to rescue texts and stuff from the Library of Alexandria as it burns. And so the gameplay area actually shrinks as the game goes on instead of expanding, which is a little bit different from a lot of games. And yeah, like Zach mentioned, asymmetrical player power. So every hero has different reasons for being in there and different goals. And the library is randomly generated every time you play, so it's always a little bit different. And yeah, might want to check it out.
Check it out. Alexandria. So, quick note, a Kickstarter that started yesterday, Wander, a cult of Barnacle Bay. It was a demo I did at Gen Con. It has fantastic minis. It reminded me a lot of Super Dungeon Explorer or Arcadia Quest.
Okay.
They'll be starting their Kickstarter, and it's from Panda Cult Games. So next week, we'll probably do an update on there, and possibly we will get some sort of interview / info / talking to of the people that made the game, because they had reached out to us, and that's why I handed out business cards.
Correct.
Like some sort of tool.
Yes. But I really liked the demo I got from them. It's got a cool initiative system, and minis aren't like crazy important to the game, so fingers crossed it's not going to be crazy expensive.
Okay.
$100. Maybe it'll be our $100 mini game of the week. We didn't really have one of those this week.
No,
we did not.
Yeah. So we'll talk more
We're
about
hedging
that.
our bets, and I was just going to say this is going to be that.
Yeah.
So.
We'll see what that game looks
Okay.
like next week.
All right, and then one other thing I want to talk about real briefly here. So this isn't a Kickstarter. We call this our news and Kickstarter segment. So we're branching out of Kickstarter. This one's on Indiegogo, and
It's the
is
same thing, though.
It's basically the same thing. Yeah, it's Dized, board games made easy, and this is an app for helping you learn and set up board games. Currently has 73% of its 50,000 goal. It's sitting at 36,000 with just under 1,200 backers. So the whole idea behind this app is like they want this to be like your one app for board gaming that isn't like a board game as an app. It's will offer you for a wide variety of games, like how to set them up on the table. So you can pull up your app and it'll tell you like, all right, we'll set out this piece and how many players. Okay, starting tokens go here and here and here and all of that. There's also rule lookups, so you can look up obscure rules and things. And then they ultimately want to have it with a local player search. You can find players nearby. You can create gaming groups out of like the people that you meet through this app, schedule game nights, and sync calendars, and also track group stats and stuff. So, if they can promise on all of that, that sounds awesome.
Some powerful software.
Yeah. I do think personally that seems a bit overzealous, especially at the rate that games are coming out. Like just keeping that app update, it'll have to be like a daily update with whatever new hot game and how to set it up and how to play it and how to do all of that. And I don't know. I'm a little skeptical that they can pull it off, but if they can, man, that'd be great. So, feel free to go check that out over on Indiegogo and see if it interests you.
Indeed.
Cool.
And that's it for Kickstarter / Indiegogos.
Yep, and news and all of that stuff.
I guess that was over a while ago, though.
Correct.
Like 20 years ago.
God damn it, David.
Somewhere around 1997?
Yep.
Yeah, I heard that's a long time ago.
I heard it was really long. Really old movies came out then.
Anyway.
A long time ago in a galaxy that's right here.
With a new massive black hole in the center of it.
Yep.
That was the news today.
Hooray, science.
Yeah.
Zach.
Yes.
So on our BGG forum guild thing, guild number 2731, where you post episode threads, we had some responses from last week's top 10 episode.
Yes.
Or a response.
Well,
maybe.
specifically, we had one that posted in between from when we actually recorded it to when we actually released it. So it was just someone making a bunch of predictions. So we get to say how wrong they were.
Okay.
All right.
I'm a big fan of telling our fans how wrong they are.
Yep.
That gets us more fans.
So this is from Daniel. And he goes, wow, just listen to the top 10 at episode 10. So, he knows what our original ones were.
Correct.
So Adrian seems like a completely different gamer, which is completely true.
Yes.
So many light games and luck-based games. If you guys are going by the same criteria, I think Terraforming Mars, Feast for Odin, and Le Havre will make Adrian's top 10. 2 out of 3 on that one.
Yeah, not bad.
Yep. Did Adrian get to play Caverna more? Question mark. I think Zombicide and Catan fall off. That last
both did.
But they both did, and he has not played Caverna more.
No, I have not.
For Zach and Jeff, it's a bit more difficult. Terraforming Mars should be on both of your top 10s. It was. Mansions of Madness 2nd edition might make it on both lists too? Question mark. Not sure. I was really hard for me to decide between that and that and Eldritch Horror.
Yeah.
And so Eldritch Horror barely snicked it out. I think that's just because I played that one more. But this like mansions would be like a 11 or 12. Maybe Scythe will make Zach's top 10. No,
Nope, none of ours.
Well, we also haven't. I don't think any of us played it since we
We haven't
reviewed
played it since
No.
we reviewed. David has played it since we reviewed it.
Yes, and I'm good.
I mean I can definitely understand why people like it, but was I more generous on it than I remember?
I don't know. I'm curious about that too, or like if he like was thinking Jeff maybe because Jeff loves the artwork and has the super duper artwork fancy edition
Yeah.
and thought maybe it'd work its way up onto Jeff's list.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked playing on Jeff's super duper artwork fancy edition. But I spent a lot of time looking at my tiny little board in front of me instead of the glorious large board and the mechs and
Yeah.
all that. So it
Yeah, I
was
can
kind of
understand that.
disappointing.
Zach hinted at Blood Rage making his top 10. I think it might make it too. That one, it was really tough between that one and Game of Thrones, and I think the theme-wise, Game of Thrones won out in the end, so that's why I included that one.
Well, clearly Daniel has me in a box, and he just hasn't quite figured you guys out. I'm
It was
predictable.
like I was close on both of those, but yeah, he just doesn't. He didn't get you, Jeff.
I changed pretty hard to like games I love to be those like two-player
asymmetrical.
asymmetric,
Yep.
like 5-hour-ish games. Things like Blood Bowl and Star Wars Rebellion and,
Yep.
And then also Star Realms.
and Star Realms.
Yeah, 5-hour
and Hero
games.
Realms.
And Hero
Hero
Realms.
Realms is in there.
Yeah, but I mean, those take a long time, just like 1997's a long time ago.
Oh my gosh, how many times can we bring this up in one episode?
At least
a
5 more
lot.
times.
You know, it's going to be a couple weeks before this one really runs out. So
It's going to be funny though because I don't know if the entire like story that led up to that 20 years ago being a long time ago is going to make the cut.
your HBO movie montage.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that'll make the cut. We'll see.
Yeah.
So we got a message from Matthew from Cardboard Carnage, and he says, from last episode, we talked about the climbers a whole lot. So he says, when you guys played the climbers, did you ever use teamwork to make the game go longer? We did by both playing tiles to the mutual benefit of each other and
Mutual benefit? What?
and talking strategy. It was almost like a co-op for a while. To which I replied, because I couldn't just leave that hanging. I said, oh, definitely not. We're far too mean to each other.
That
And it-
never crossed my mind once.
No.
And so he replies, he says, I used the other two people to keep myself in the game, then screwed them harder than a poem star in the end. Not phrasing I meant, LOL. You can use this in the show if you want. LOL again. I'm pretty sure that might have supposed to been screwed harder than a porn star. But because I'm not familiar with poem stars.
Poem.
Poem stars? Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure
porn.
it's an autocorrect.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like when he first sent me that message, like, have you guys ever worked together?
I read that one and I was like, ha, ha, no.
No.
Not even close.
Let me take that piece away from you so you can't use it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you remember when we talked about Indonesia and Adrian's girlfriend was like, I don't really, like, I'd play the game again if it wasn't with that same group because they are far too mean to each other.
Yeah. So it's funny. So like he sent this to me back on the 1st. So like at the start of my vacation, my week vacation. Well, I played Climbers again with Megan, the two of us. And although we did not work together like to make it go longer like that, when I ultimately won, like, all right, you know, this whole round nobody went up, whatever. Then we backtracked a little bit because she was like, "Could I have won?" And then we pieced it together. It was like, "Oh yeah, if you'd done this and this and this and this, then yeah, you totally would have beat me." And it was much more enjoyable that way because there was no like being dickish about it.
I'm going to make you lose.
Nice.
I'm going to make you lose harder.
Yeah. No.
It was always about like how can I do the best for me, not how can I fuck you the most, which is a subtle but important difference.
I mean, I feel like the best for me is fucking you over. So
Not always.
I can't
mean, I
think of a
won-
situation where it's not that.
I won Grifters that one time because I chose to fuck you over.
I mean, sometimes it is the best decision, just not always. Anyway, yeah. So that was for Matthew, who messaged us on Twitter. So thanks, Matthew, for sending us that message and giving us a
yeah.
good laugh about
Yes.
the concept of us maybe working together in the
No.
climbers.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Pretty much the game has to say, you fuckers are working together. You know that, right?
This
Like,
is a co-op game. You must work together.
Yeah.
We actually, when we played Dead of Winter, we put all the trader cards in and no regular ones because we all want to be stabbing each other in the back.
Yep.
That would be an interesting way to play. We did get an email emails@milehighgameguys.com if you would like to send us any sweet emails about science or otherwise.
Oh, that's right.
Because
Yeah, I
that's
forgot
what
about
this
that.
one's about. This one
Yeah.
comes from Andrew. Eclipse explainer for you guys.
He's our podcast explainer, basically.
Yes. 1. There is at least 1 and up to 5 solar eclipses every year, of which no more than 2 can be total eclipses. I'm seriously considering traveling to Argentina or Chile next July for the next one. 2. Lunar eclipses happen either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after the solar eclipse, and sometimes both. This year, it was 2 weeks before, but only visible from the other side of the planet. 3. The eclipse in 2024 will be a total eclipse like this one, but the path comes up through the Pacific coast of Mexico, goes over Dallas, Indianapolis. It's April 8th, no luck Gen Con 57, and Cleveland, just missing St. Louis and Toronto. It'll be about 60% in Denver. 4. The path of totality in the eclipse of 2045 will graze Denver. The northern edge of the zone will be basically the University of Denver campus on the south side of the city. The center line will be between Colorado Springs and Pueblo. It will also hit Salt Lake City, Oklahoma City, and basically all of the major cities in Florida. It will be a longer eclipse than this one, almost 5.5 minutes, where the center line of the totality crosses I-25 near Pueblo. Camping trip to Great Sand Dunes
National Park.
National Park.
Which,
Anyone?
yes, 100%.
Yes.
If I'm still anywhere near Colorado, that is
In
now my plan.
2045.
Yes. that is just a scant 28 fucking years.
But yeah, I think it's impressive. Well, so go ahead and finish the email, and then we'll talk about it.
Also, when is Zach not Zach? When he's a jar.
Hey, yeah.
I didn't get that.
When is the door not a door? When it's a jar?
Oh, okay, so it was just a reference to that joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was some deeper meaning. I just finished watching Westworld. I'm all about deeper meanings right now.
Your ever faithful hater and explainer of shit to you dumb fucks, Andrew.
So this is one of those things. Like, so I was talking to somebody, like my grandparents and my dad, like on my weekend vacation, and they were talking about the eclipse and stuff. And they were like, "Oh yeah, I feel like there's like one every 4 or 5 years." So I was like, "Nah, haha, I have an email." Somebody emailed me with proof. I didn't realize that they were nearly that frequent. Like I knew they were more frequent.
They're just all over the world.
Yeah.
And I guess, with the huge amount of water that covers the planet, a lot of them probably might not ever even touch land.
We just have to buy yachts on either coast and take them where we need them.
Done.
It's
All right.
also pretty sweet that, science can very accurately predict an eclipse 30 years from now and where it's going to pass, where the totality is going to be in the center line and all of that. But yeah, thanks, Andrew, for yet another illuminating email.
Indeed.
That enlightened us dumbasses.
The smartest emails we get.
Yep.
You too can match his smart emails if you email us at emails@milehighgameguys.com.
Correct. You can also get a hold of us through Twitter. I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
And I am Jeff_MHGG.
And David, as I recall, you don't really use Twitter.
I have a Twitter, but it's going to be secret.
Okay.
Secret
Yeah.
Twitter. Until you see him like something that we do, and then you're like, that must be him.
Yes. You can also get a hold of us through Facebook or Instagram at Mile High Game or /Mile High Game Guys. You can join our Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, where Zach posts up usually really good, awesome
I was
episode
camping this
things,
weekend.
but he was camping this weekend.
I prefaced it as that. So
Yes.
that means I can do a shitty job.
Correct.
So,
Correct. You can also occasionally, we did have a post recently by one of our local listeners who advertised his neighbor's house next door is for sale. And if somebody wants to go live next to somebody with like 1,500 games and a huge gaming space, there's a house for sale in northern Denver. So yeah, discussions like that come up.
Real estate.
We have a handful of t-shirts available. We are down to, I believe, one of the gray XLs and then one of each size, small, medium, large, XL in the black t-shirts.
I thought it was navy. Was it black?
It ended up being black.
It's black, yeah.
So we have very few shirts left. If you would like to get a shirt, email us at emails@milehighgameguys.com. Jeff, do you want to? I stole your thunder.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing?
Email us
emails at milehighgameguys.com.
And let us know what size you would like. And it will be $20 plus shipping. If you're local, we will, happily meet with you, or if you're going to be somewhere where we happen to be. I just recently, this weekend, dropped off to longtime listener and fan of the show, Mike, down in the Springs. I dropped off his shirt. Super sketchy 8 a.m. meeting in the parking lot of a Starbucks to trade a shirt and cash.
We sent one to Brandon from What Did You Play This Week, too? So, yeah.
And we got a whole bunch more that are going to be going out here at the beginning of the month now that our Patreon money has come through and we can afford to ship things.
Hooray!
Yay.
So thank you to all of our patrons.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Who have helped us to raise that money and be able to order and then ship shirts. If you would also like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/milehighgameguys. And yeah, for as little as $1 a month, you too can have a financial interest in what we do.
Just remember that if you only do $1 a month, we'll make fun of you. So.
Yes.
Is there still only one person at
Yes,
one? Okay.
Eric.
Eric. Yeah. Fuck Eric.
Yes. Screw him for getting us into Punchboard Media.
Yeah.
And
then he gave us only $1.
Yeah.
and doing all of those things that have helped grow the show. How dare you, Eric? How dare you?
Until he is the only $1 backer. Fuck the $1 people.
Speaking of Punchboard Media, we throw the bumpers on the show, but I don't think we always do enough to talk about how awesome this organization is. It's a whole bunch of great content creators over at punchboardmedia.com that you can check out. There's written, video, audio.
I read their stuff a lot. They write some good stuff.
Yep. I'm a huge fan personally of Katie's Game Corner. She covers a whole lot of heavier games, war games, things like that, and has done a couple very excellent articles on mental health and how board gaming and the kind of social interaction that comes with board gaming can kind of help with that.
Yeah.
So, tons of great people doing great things over there. So be sure to go over to punchboardmedia.com and check everybody out. All right. And be sure to tune in Friday for our Fury of Dracula review. And yeah, thanks for listening to this.
I'm excited for Fury of Dracula. I'm furious about Dracula, and I have things to say about it. So
Yeah. Well, so Jeff's very excited. David's going to be joining us for Fury of Dracula.
Yes.
He's played a lot of games
is he?
with us.
I thought we were just going to be like, all right, David, now you just
exit the
slowly
room.
Time to
exit
leave. I know you.
Jeff and Zach just brought me in to, have one more person to give you shit all episode.
Yep.
and it worked out very well.
That's the purpose of most of our guests.
Yeah. I can't think of any friend that we'd bring in that wouldn't give you more shit.
Correct. Which is why I can't wait for Megan to be home so I can bring her on the show to occasionally.
I feel like she
be
still
nice.
gives you shit.
Yeah, but it's a nicer kind of shit. It's not nearly so vitriolic and mean.
I mean,
you guys go for the jugular.
Maybe it's more passive aggressive than just aggressive.
Superficial.
Superficial wounds.
You guys go for deep.
Deep psychological wounds.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm laborious Jeff.
And thanks, David, for joining us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 This one is well funded. $406,000 on its 19,000.
I think you mean
goal.
40,000.
691, yes.
Yeah. 40,600.
You're just off by a magnitude of 10. It's okay.
No, I was looking here and I was like, it's in pounds on my phone. So I was like, well, did the pound conversion rate just like really get fucked because of Brexit or what happened?
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, it did,
fucked.
but it has doubled its goal
Yeah.
at $400,600.
$40,000.
$40,600.
Third time's the charge,
Yeah.
Jeff.
40,000.
Did you also drink a bomber of 10% beer?
I didn't.
Punchboard Media, where we all
Bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
At punchboardmedia.com.